I also want to point out, if we go to the second slide, thank you. Here are some, just of many that I could have put on the slide, some potential nuclear states. Now, I put a couple of real success stories up there, Argentina and Brazil. While in the 60s, they had quite active programs. They hadn't acquired nuclear weapons, but they were heading in that direction by becoming members of the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the Treaty of Tlatelolco, which is a nuclear weapons-free zone treaty. They indeed destroyed their programs and never went any further. But then I have some two worrisome countries. The one that jumped right out, of course, is Iran, the one that gets all the press. They are suspected to have a clandestine program. Many countries are actively trying to turn that around. Egypt is a party to the NPT, but there is concern that they could change their minds if instability in the region could continue there. The same thing for the Saudis. Libya, of course, we'll see what happens there. They had an active program that they abandoned under Gaddafi in the early part of the new millennium. But now, of course, they're transitioning. We hope that they stay a strong member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And then there's Syria, who is a party to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, but there was a suspicious facility that the Israelis destroyed. So I'm just trying to give you the sense that the Non-Proliferation Treaty is not a said and done effort. It is an ongoing effort to try to deal with tensions. Even countries that are parties to the treaty have found ways to work around it. And the North Koreans, as I say, have actually been withdrawn from the treaty. Okay. So where do we go from here? This is where we are, 2011, in terms of the nuclear clubs and questionable countries. Where do we go from here? How do we get to global zero? My research has been looking at what has been the dominant strategy for trying to address this question of disarmament. And that has been what is called the incremental approach, or the stepwise approach. Trying to address the problem by just breaking it down into small steps, taking smaller steps, making some progress. The idea is that the momentum from taking earlier steps will help carry us through to help get agreement on later, more difficult, more comprehensive steps. So that's been the approach that we've taken. And my research has thrown some doubt as to whether or not we'll ever be able to use this incremental approach to get to global zero. That it by itself is not going to get us there. So what I would like to do now is just give you a quick run-through of my analysis. I looked at three theories in political science: game theory, prospect theory, and something called liberal international theory. And I tried to see how these three theories, what they had to say about tackling some of the real challenges that we face right now with the nuclear proliferation questions. There are three major issues, really, that are kind of struggling points for moving forward to taking deeper cuts into global nuclear stockpiles. One big problem is the fact that nuclear technology is dual use. Okay, the same kinds of technology, we can make shifts to have it be appropriate for military uses, but also for civilian uses. And indeed, with our environmental problems, there's a lot of interest now in perhaps nuclear energy being something that states would like to pursue. But the problem is that today's civilian nuclear program could become tomorrow's military program. An example of that is India, which started out saying we were just doing all of our nuclear research for civilian purposes, but they have one of the fastest growing nuclear military programs today on the planet. The second hurdle that we face is enforcing the promises that states make under the Non-Proliferation Treaty. As I said, there are every state except for 4 are members of the treaty, yet many of them seem to be trying to work around the edges to get around some of the things that they've promised. watchdog for the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It inspects civilian nuclear energy programs, makes sure that no nuclear fuel is being diverted or used other than what they were been stated for. And it has worked fairly well, but of course this system has not prevented North Korea from trying to sneak its way around the program and then eventually withdrawing from the program. The third hurdle is to improve the pace of disarmament by the 5 declared nuclear states. The numbers may be coming down, and I thank Bill for pointing out that compared to the bad old days of the Reagan administration, we definitely have fewer nuclear weapons, and that is very true. And the New START Treaty enjoins the United States and Russia to make even deeper cuts. But the US, the Russians, and the Chinese all have very robust modernization programs.